My name's Robert Moore, and I'm president of Lark Builders. I grew up in business. I was about 13 when we started it, and I worked in it through high school, and then I went off to college. At that point, my father had passed away, and my mother had been in the business. I come back home, went to work in the business. At that point, we moved to Florida, and we had that operation down there for 10 years. And she decided to retire. Unique how we got in the steel frame business. We started off building buildings out of actual electrical conduit. We brazed the frames together with brass. And we did that up until about 97. Then we went to a metal con show, saw the equipment that Howick makes. We were really impressed with it. We were looking for something to replace the other method of steel frame because we were doing a lot of wood, and wood's a lot more labor intensive. There's a lot more waste, a lot more issues, cracks, splits, mold, things like that. So at that time, steel was extremely competitive with wood. It was 25, 26 cents a pound. You know, you could compete with it on the same level as far as price. And then things changed. Tariff on import steel. The price went up quite a bit, and we de-emphasized the steel somewhat at that point because the margins weren't as good. It's 2016. My oldest son said, I think you can do better than this wood, even if we had to pay more for steel. And we actually, we had costed it before, but we probably didn't put as much emphasis on the labor part of it as we should have. Because to get a wood wall out, it took about 19 people to get it to the point you could put it on a floor to build a shed. And the steel, you got 3 people on the machine and about 8 people assembled. And the product was a lot better. The consistency, the quality was a lot better. And people, when they see it, they're really, really impressed. We were building our walls and our roof sections out of steel. And then we made a decision to go to steel on our floor frames. And we initially didn't know how well that was going to work, but it's really been a very good experience to be able to do that. So we achieved several things. First of all, we don't haul all that scrap wood to the landfill anymore. And we actually get paid something for the scrap steel. You're going to cull out probably 20% of the wood that you use. Maybe you can resaw it and use part of it, but not all of it. But you can take a steel building, let's just say one that's 12 feet by 24 feet, and you can put the waste in your hands and hold it. The steel you've wasted running that product out. So it's had some real positives. We've done real well with it, especially in Florida, which our biggest market is Florida. I think Florida is really regulated from a construction standpoint, and they've got a program you have to be a part of to sell the product down there. They do inspections in your plant weekly. You have to have plant specifications, and you have to go through a certification program, and you have to, as the code changes every 3 years, you have to update it. So you go through the whole process again. And, it's hard to find somebody that, that wants to fool with something that size, which we build up to like a 14 by 50 in one section, and then up to 720 square feet in multiple sections. But it's difficult to get a contractor to come in and do that. And there's a lot of folks in Florida. Probably in 77, 78, we did some office units, finish units, coated unit. We just never could really make that work. It's not super competitive, but it was just finding qualified personnel to do the wiring, the plumbing, and things like that. Just deciding we could pretty well sell everything we could build as far as the sheds. A lot of people building tiny houses now. I mean, we could adapt to something like that, but then you got the same thing with the plumbing, HVAC, the whole 9 yards, and we just have been fortunate that we've been able to make this work, and it's been a good business. You know, Robert's been a big part of that. Getting really into the steel when we first started, like I said, it's kind of a no-brainer because of the price of the raw material, but then we were probably 75% wood, and to make a decision and tell your customer base that you're not going to build that anymore, you're only going to build steel, which what we did at that point, we flipped the price. What we were charging for wood, we charged for steel. We didn't have a whole lot of trouble transitioning people to all steel. Well, as long as the price was real competitive, yeah, they'd choose steel over wood because they like the characteristics of the steel better. You know, you got straighter walls, straighter floors. I mean, the whole thing is a lot more quality to it. Okay, Robert's my oldest son. He kind of gives me direction on some things, and we flipped on the steel. We decided to just go that route, and it was his encouragement to do that we made the decision. And some other things we've done as far as getting into the door business, that we manufacture our own doors. He's pretty well over production, and he comes up with some novel ideas, ways to do things. And like I said, he knows, not because he's been in the machine shop or he knows a lot about it. That comes in handy as far as working on equipment we have, keeping it going. I don't think we've ever been down with one of your machines more than maybe 3 or 4 days, something like that. We couldn't find a backup part here stateside or modify something to make it work. So, yeah, he's instrumental in the business, and I've got 2 other sons. One of them's over the financial part of it, and the office manager, and then my younger son is sales. But by and large, for a family business, we get along well. We've had enough growth, and we've been profitable enough. It's worked real well. We go that extra mile. You know, we don't cut corners. If somebody has an issue, we give service. We like to think, you know, we build the best and we stand behind it. You know, we don't use a lot of gimmicks or make a lot of noise, but we build a good product. The adaptation and the learning curve, it wasn't difficult, because actually, you know, the steel's lighter. It's easier to work with, and you don't have to tug around a big old heavy nail gun. We had situations when we were building the wood. As I said, Florida's a big part of our market, and you had to put a lot of hardware on the wood, clips, all kind of things to secure it for the wind speeds. And you know, in the course of the day, we got to it with the wood where we were having to replace like 60 studs after we had built the walls because of splits and cracks. Expense, labor-wise and material-wise. You run that steel out and you put it together, you know, you got a problem.
Right.
You don't have to do anything to it.
No.
Steel's environmentally friendly, it can be recycled, and you know, you're not going to landfill it. It's like any product, there's energy consumed to produce it. You know, costs money to run sawmills, takes a lot of electricity. Anything you're going to produce, there's going to be some energy used, but no, it's like I said, you know, you have to pay the landfill to take the wood, put it in the ground, but the steel, somebody will come by and pick it up from you and pay you. Myself and a partner have a fabricating business. We fabricate all of our materials. We're somewhat vertically integrated from the standpoint of doors, siding, stuff like that. And there's a lot of potential in that. There's a lot of potential in doors. There's other product we can produce, and we plan on selling those products to to other customers, to other people that do what we do. We had a gentleman come down from Michigan. We haven't advertised or really promoted the product. We're just trying to get up to speed to where we're building a good product and we're taking care of our needs initially. If you look around, you never heard anybody talk about a storage shed 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. But ironically, there's 6 different retail locations in town here. They're, as a matter of fact, they're all wood with wood siding. We've taken a look at that, but we're not really motivated to do that. We like the aluminum or steel product for our sidings and stuff. But we hopefully will have some organic growth, and the boys will be able to grow the business. You know, when we first got the first machine, it was kind of funny. You'd go out and talk to somebody and you'd tell them how long the machine was, how big it was. They said, ain't no way you can roll stuff out of the machine like that. Yeah. We've had a real positive experience with Howick and the products and the service. I mean, you know, you're a long way from us, but we've been able to make it work without any real difficulty. Technology that y'all put into it has been phenomenal. The speed of machines compared to the first. They did a good job, but they weren't near as fast as these newer machines. And they hold up well.